Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our evening edition now of Big Brother 22 All-Stars Live Feed Spoilers, and we're going to keep this video fairly simple. The question is, who won Head of Household, the endurance competition? It's now over. We'll talk about the winner. We'll go through some of what happened along the way and what it means for the week. Before we get into it, of course, if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, support us further by checking the links to the store, our Patreon, and also check in the description our full video about tonight's eviction episode and everything that happened with Bailey as well.
And also, if you guys are around tomorrow night, we're going to have another Nerds Night In at 5 p.m. Pacific Coast time. So if you happen to be around and you want to hang out with us and chat about Big Brother or some nerdy stuff or whatever you want to talk about, come and chat with us.
Yeah, it'll be a fun live opportunity to hang out with all of you guys. We are looking forward to it. Probably more than some of you are looking forward to the winner of this Head of Household.
Yeah, so there was 3 people that I thought were really in the running for this, and it was Danny, it was Nicole, it was Ian, because this particular HoH competition favors smaller people, and Danny won it.
Danny is really good at the wall comp. Like, this is something no one should be surprised by this, and I kind of feel like sometimes it's sort of obvious what's going to happen when you just look at how everyone is sort of up there doing. And I kind of cursed myself a lot in this because I would sort of watch someone and then they would fall pretty shortly after. Like, I was locked in on Ian because I wanted like vengeance for all these people who were mean to him this week. So I was just like, Ian, and Ian fell. But right next to Ian, for at least some of it or close to him, was Danny, who had like this like sideways pose up there. She was like a rock. Like, she was not moving for a good percentage of this.
No, she was really solid. I mean, Nicole was pretty solid. We did lose Ian pretty early on. We lost Davon right away, and man, that one hurt.
That one really bummed me out, if I'm being honest. It's just because I don't want to sort of let other people think that they were right. And one of the reasons why Davon ends up being evicted, Bailey ends up being evicted over Bailey ends up being evicted over Davon. Yep. There we go, I got it. The reason why I think that was sort of talked about was because Bailey was a bigger physical threat. And getting rid of Bailey, it seems like that was purely, Davon just can't win these competitions.
No, she can't, and she didn't. But the thing that I am hopeful for with Danny being the HoH is that Davon has not seemed like she is any kind of target for her, and I'm really happy about that. I mean, we even saw in the last veto where Danny and Nicole were kind of like thinking, well, let's just throw it to Davon. That way she can stick around and, we can help her out sort of thing. So I don't think that Danny's going to turn around and just put her on the block. At least I really hope not.
I hope not. And so I was bummed that Davon went as early as she did. I'm bummed that Ian went as early as he did. Like, this is a competition. It seemed like you were reliant on your arms maybe a little bit more than some other wall comps we've seen over time. And David struggled with it. Maybe this is why Ian struggled with it. But Davon, David, and Ian, first 3 off, they're have-nots. Memphis beat them. Memphis, with his back in shambles, beat them. Was Memphis just thinking, dear God, don't let me be a have-not?
That is 100% it. He just did not want to be a have-not, and he was just like, I'm going to hold on to 4th, and then I'm done.
Yeah, if that is the case, Memphis, this may be one of your most shrewd moves in Big Brother so far. Yeah. I was, at this point, after Memphis had fallen, I was like, all right, Kevin, I'm going from being like 3 weeks ago, we were just booing you constantly. Now we're like, Kevin, hey, Kevin, you want to be HoH now? Then Kevin falls off after Enzo does.
Yeah, and so then we were kind of left with Tyler and Cody and Danny and Nicole, and it was an interesting crew because they're all supposed to be a little bit kind of working together, but we've seen a little bit of back and forth with Tyler and Cody, a little bit. It didn't turn into a full battle of the bros or anything like you thought it would.
No.
But, they're still both very big threats. We know that, Danny and Tyler are a little bit back and forth, and I think that they both know that they're on each other's radars in a pretty significant way after this past week.
Tyler, unfortunately for him, he made a comment that was like, I shouldn't have worn pants. And it was, yeah, you're getting like that rain thrown on you. It's probably gets kind of cold up there, even in California. So maybe that was weighing on him. I mean, he's had a particularly difficult week. Maybe that was a part of it as well. Tyler not winning this, because I'll admit there was this part of me when we got down to that Final Four. I was sort of thinking, Tyler might go after Danny. Like, is a Tyler HoH win the worst thing in the world for them for this winning drama?
I think he absolutely was going to go after Danny. I feel like that has been 2 weeks in the making now.
Yeah, and so then we end up with Nicole, Cody, Danny. I feel like at this point, with those three, they all kind of knew that each other was safe, and that's probably why this competition didn't go on for longer.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Danny's not going to put up either of them, so it wasn't like a big thing to just be like, we'll let her have that one.
Yeah, and Nicole and Cody pretty much went like one right after the next at that point. I don't know if that was throwing it, but the irony here is that Danny, because of her own power, which she has already said is useless, she technically can use it now, and technically she can try to compete again for the next HoH.
She absolutely can, and I don't know why she wouldn't bother. She might as well try.
I'm no fan of Danny so far this season, but there's some very dark humor, I guess, in the idea that Danny hated this power, and ironically she could end up benefiting from it greatly.
Yeah, she could.
But what does Danny do with this power now? I think that is sort of the big central question, and it might not be the worst thing if you want drama. If you're a Tyler fan, maybe it's not great. Like, there's a chance this week could go pretty badly for Tyler by the end of it.
Yeah, we're at the point in the game, we're 6 weeks in, this is the 6th week now. This is a time that you can start to take out some of the bigger threats that are in the game. And Tyler has said a couple times that he's kind of thrown out Danny's name. It would make sense that she would try to find a way to get him out. And I think she's bold enough to do so.
Here's the thing, and this is where it gets tricky. I guess this is not full devil horns or anything. I'm not getting that mischievous, but I'm trying to map out some scenarios. So, Danny, she's close obviously with Nicole, and Nicole is close with Ian. I think there's a lot of concern about Ian, but could Nicole try to keep Ian off the block at this point? Maybe. Danny has been close-ish with Kevin, but there's not a lot of options at this point. I think a Kevin and David nomination could make sense. However, David has his power that he can pull himself off.
If after everything that just happened with Memphis and what he did with Ian mocking his disorder behind his back and Danny laughing about it and Nicole laughing about it, if Danny puts up Ian, I'm going to have a really hard time this week. I'm just going to put that out there. These videos may be a little bit different.
BB Twitters are coming for you, Danny. I think we can say that if that is ultimately what happens. Like, that is my concern. It is that if Danny does decide, okay, I'm putting up Kevin and David comes off, does Ian then end up going up?
And the thing about it all is that Ian is a huge threat.
Yes.
And everything that's happened is now sort of overshadowing what a huge threat he is, and it's all going to end up being connected. Ian is a huge threat. He does need to be taken out of this game, because when you start to get to the middle of the game with Ian, he gets extra dangerous, where he does start winning stuff all the way to the end, and then he creams you.
Yeah, like that has to be a serious concern with these people. And putting up Ian for game reasons, like, it does make a lot of sense at this point. The two big questions that I think we're left to wonder about here. Number one, is Danny bold enough to go after Tyler, but also would she be bold enough to actually put him up right away as opposed to trying to do some sort of backdoor?
I think she would probably just backdoor him. I think she probably doesn't want him to have a chance to run for the veto.
other idea here is, does Danny sort of be like, okay, you know what, I want to try to not get too much blood on my hands? Does she try to go to somebody within the Blob Alliance and try to get one of them? Does she put Memphis up there and just take Memphis? Oh, he's grumpy. You think he's grumpy now? He'll be like, I got a bad back and I'm on the Blob. I know my Memphis impression, by the way, sounds nothing like Memphis.
I think that what is probably going to end up happening, if I had to have a theory, with just the way that this whole season has gone, we should expect to see a Kevin and a David on the block. That is where I think we are going to end up with this. That even though maybe in the past Danny would be bold enough to do something a little more crazy, this season, people that I really thought were going to make some bold moves, like I thought Enzo for sure was going to get Ian out, and that would have been a move no one would have been that mad about, because Ian is a winner and he is dangerous. And so why didn't you do that? Nobody knows. It is just that kind of season.
So in the end, I think the big interesting point of this is that Danny has sort of put her hands in a lot of different cookie jars, and eventually one of those cookie jars is going to cause some problems as we move forward. But we are recording this right after the competition. We don't know anything else yet. We will be back tomorrow to talk more about that and go through our live. But for now, what do you guys think about Danny winning Head of Household? Be sure to share in the comments, and if you do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, support us further, check the links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.